Right. So continuing our discussion on segmentation, like we said, segmenting the market, we segment the markets because the market is not homogeneous and the needs of different segments are likely to be different. So let's look at which way, the four broad ways in which we can segment the market. The first and the most commonly used method of segmentation is demographic segmentation. So what do you mean by demographic segmentation? Demographic segmentation is segmentation on the basis of various demographic variables like age, like gender, like income, and so on and so forth. So let me give you a simple example of segmentation by income. Now let's take different car brands of Maruti. So if you know, Maruti has a car brand called Espresso, or earlier times there was a brand called as Alto. Then you have a brand like Swift. Then you have a brand like Swift Desire, and then you have a brand like Ciaz. Okay, so one of the most important elements of segmentation here is that of income, because the income of a Swift customer and that of a Ciaz customer is likely to be different. Income is one of the most commonly used variables, might I say. If you take a very simple category like detergents also, okay, so Hindustan Lever or Hindustan Unilever actually has got three brands, in the detergent category. So one is Wheel, which is actually the entry level. Then secondly, you have Rin, and then you have Surf Excel. And within Surf Excel also now, obviously, you have very premium variants of Surf Excel like Surf Excel Matic, etc., which are specially for washing machines. So income is one of the most widely used variables for segmentation. To give you an example, you can have a meal, in Mumbai for 40 rupees also. You can have a meal in Mumbai for 400 rupees also. You can have a meal in Mumbai for 4,000 rupees per person also. Okay, so all these three segments exist in our market, and the key defining variable that differentiates them, if you ask me, is the income. Okay, gender, obviously male, female, there are several products, like watches we discussed some time back. There are watches for men, watches for women. There could be two-wheelers, bikes, for example. TVS Scooty or TVS Scooty Pep, if I remember correctly, opened up an entire new segment of two-wheelers for women. And women started using these bikes because they were very, what can I say, they were weight-wise, they were very manageable, and they were also very trendy. So another important variable that you could use is gender. Age, obviously, the needs of a teenager, and a middle-aged man and a senior citizen could be significantly different when it comes to several things like the content that they want to watch on television. It could be about what kind of apparel they want to wear. It could be about nutrition, and obviously many marketeers have therefore created different brands and different propositions for various segments of this market depending upon the age of the consumer. So the first and foremost, like I said, is the demographic way of segmenting. The second one is geographic segmentation. So what do you mean by geographic segmentation? Is that you divide the market basis the geography. In the Indian market, for example, in a back of the envelope kind of a segmentation, we can divide them as north, south, east, and west. And obviously, there are several things that you can consider which are different between north, east, south, and west. Maybe the tea drinking preferences are different in various geographies. So you have various regional tea brands. Tea as a category, if you see, while there are very big national brands like Brook Bond and Tata Tea, you have regional brands like Wagh Bakri Chai, you have regional brands like Society Tea, and the reason that they are successful is they have been able to capitalize on the specific tea drinking habits of that particular region or area. Okay, for McDonald's, if you take, another example that you can take is McDonald's. And for McDonald's, every region, let's take Europe, let's take South Asia, let's take India, let's take North America, all these for them are different regions, and they have a differently curated menu. So you might not get something that you get in McDonald's India, which you typically get in McDonald's in London, and vice versa, right? The menus are likely to be significantly different, and that's because they recognize these different geographies as having different needs, and therefore they have curated a menu accordingly. Within India, if you say even metros, non-metros, and then tier 3 towns, tier 4 towns, rural, so you could actually segment the market as per this kind of geographical segmentation also. To give an example, Raymond might say that, okay, we want to target consumers only in metros, tier 2 towns, and we do not want to go in the tier 3 and below towns. So that's another way of segmenting which companies can use. So the first one we discussed was demographic. The second one was geographic. Let's move to the third one, which is psychographic segmentation. This is very interesting. It segments the consumers on the basis of their personality. Okay, so what does this mean? The people can have different personalities. To give an example, somebody could be outdoorsy. What do you mean by outdoorsy? He likes to go outdoors. He likes to, if it's a Sunday, he would like to go get on his bike and go for a long 100-kilometer drive, etc. At the other end of the spectrum, you could have a consumer which is completely indoorsy. He likes to be at home. He likes to read book. His idea of spending quality time might be different from that of this outdoorsy guy. Some people like adventure. Some people do not like adventure. Some people are, what can we say, extrovert versus introvert. So all these are different personality types, and their brands have always tried to find that thing. Harley Davidson, for example, or even Royal Enfield, they are trying to look at people who are adventurous. They're trying to look at people who have a different, distinct personality. They want to identify themselves slightly differently from the rest of them, because they think they are extrovert and adventurous and that kind of a thing. Those who love adventure sports, another brand that I would like to talk about is something like a Mountain Dew. Dar ke aage jeet hai. And they encourage people to take very possibly very dangerous sports or something like that. So personality is another way in which you can segment consumers. So let's move for the discussion further to the last variable of segmentation, which is behavioral segmentation. Now, what do you mean by behavioral? There are several variables within behavioral segmentation. So the first one that I want to talk about in behavioral segmentation is user status. Okay, so whether the person is a regular user, frequently uses, or intermittent user or non-user. To give an example, let's take a category like deodorant, and let's say I am Dabur as a company and I want to launch a new deodorant. Now I have various possibilities. The market has frequent users, or what I'll say, the ones who use regular users. They might be people who are occasional users, and they might be non-users as well. So then we could actually target, this to a particular segment. We could call them, we could target it for non-users, or we could target it to occasional users, depending upon the kind of strategy that we have. To give you another example, let's take a toothpaste as a category. Again, you have various users, so people who use regularly, people, again, there is a huge market, about 10 to 20% of the market overall, and in rural markets probably even higher, of consumers who still do not use toothpaste. So somebody will have to do the job of educating them to start using the toothpaste. So Colgate could take up this challenge and say that, okay, with this campaign we want to target the non-users of toothpaste. So like I said, user status, loyalty status. So one more segment, I'll just cover this. There are several other variables also which you can go through, but another thing is loyalty status. So people could be, or the consumers could be loyal to a particular brand, okay, or they could be shifting loyal. Okay, what do you mean by loyal? A loyal consumer is somebody who in the last 12 occasions to buy the brand, on all 12 occasions he has bought that exactly same brand. So 12 occasions he got to buy a toilet soap, and he bought, on all 12 occasions he bought Dove. So we can conclude that this consumer is a very loyal Dove consumer. Now, when you are launching a new brand, which consumers do you want to target? Do you want to target the loyal consumers of Dove? Do you want to target the shifting loyals? Do you target the non-loyals? So all these kind of consumers are there, and then you can choose which ones to target. Thankfully, now because of data availability, because we have data available on a whole lot of consumers through consumer tracking studies, and therefore we can find out as to what kind of consumers might be ideal for us for targeting whenever we are launching a new product or a new brand. So to sum up what we discussed, segmentation, we do segmentation because not all consumers have the same need and the needs of consumers are different. The various ways in which we can segment them: first we discussed demographic, geographic, psychographic, okay, which is based on personality. Woodland shoes is another very good example of psychographic segmentation. They're targeting those people who like to go on hiking. They're outdoorsy people. They like to go mountaineering or on hikes or those kind of things. So that's an aspect of personality. As you can see, hiking or liking adventure is not really a geographic or a demographic variable. It has got to do with the personality of the person. So psychographic, and then finally behavioral segmentation. So the better you segment the market, the better you segment the market, and the better you have the idea of which segment you want to target, the better will be your entire campaign. And we'll discuss more about these in our future sessions. Thank you so much.